125 militiamen were confronted by 700 British soldiers on their way to Concord, Massachusetts. Someone pulled the trigger. Several Americans were wounded. Prince Estabrook was hit in the shoulder. Some white people, fearing revolt, opposed honoring the slaves. But as the war continued, the need for soldiers increased so much that blacks were allowed to fight. Many blacks joined the British, who promised them liberation for their service. Prince Estabrook was granted his freedom for serving. He died in 1830 at the age of 90 and is buried in the church cemetery in Ashley, Massachusetts. I'm Henry Louis Gates Jr. Visit our website at africana.com for more information about African American history and culture. Moments to Remember is a production of North Star Communications, funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. Here, it's a little chilly outside. It's a little rainy, maybe even a little cold, but we're gonna try to warm it up inside, warm you up with some good conversation this morning here on KBF 88.3 FM. So as I said, you heard the theme music, you know it's about 9 o'clock, so it's time for the workplace here on KBF 88.3 FM, Voice of the People Community Radio. I'm your host for the workplace, Toney Orr, and as always, I'm in studio with my beautiful, esteemed co-host, the Reverend Dr. Denise Darnell.
Grand Rising humans. For those of you who are watching on Facebook, forgive me for the camera mix-up. It's a lot going on. I apologize, but we're settled now.
Okay. And phone lines are open 501-247-3869. That's my telephone number. 501-433-0088. 501-433-0088. But first, I'd just like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in, not just to the workplace, but to all the shows that come on KBF 88.3. We are still receiving your donations and pledges from our last pledge drive, and really appreciate that. I had money transferred from my online PayPal account, and it was a nice amount. So I know everybody, so that let me know that people were listening and donating online, and we just really appreciate you. We cannot be the voice of the people without your voice. We cannot do what we do without your voice. And got a call already. Let me see. Caller, you on the air. Okay. As they say, it sounds like it sounds like every dog has his day. So I okay. So once again, just want to thank you for tuning in. I just want to give my co-host opportunity to greet all of you.
Grand Rising humans.
Any announcements today?
No, well, I'll see.
Okay. I know I don't have any. So what I want to talk about today, in this stems from a conversation I had last week. And so much was going on last week. There's a lot going on with the holidays, with some other things going on that I totally forgot about this conversation until this morning when I got a text message thanking me for having a conversation, thanking me for my input and everything and what it was about. So, for several weeks, the United Auto Workers (UAW) they had went on strike with the three major car companies, GMC, Ford, and Stellantis. And so they had closed down so many plants they were picketing. So then they came up with a tentative agreement, a tentative contract. And so because I'm in solidarity with so many other unions, and especially UAW, I do know people who, organizers who are part of UAW. And one of the organizers and a steward had reached out to me about the contract. Even though they came to an agreement, the contract cannot go into effect until the whole membership votes on it. And it has to be, I think 1/3 of the membership have to vote for the contract. If not, then the contract is rejected, then they have to come back to the bargaining table. And so this organizer called me to ask me about the contract. And even though I don't know anything about auto work, or anything about factories, I don't know anything about what you do in an automobile plant, but I do have some insight, which they were asking me about, with some of the demands and some of the things they were receiving that the company said, or the company and the union negotiated. And so, as we were having this conversation, talking about these different benefits, the steward said this. She said, in my lifetime, and she stated that she was 55 years old, and that she had been a part of United Auto Workers since she had started working as working in the plant right outside Dearborn, Michigan. And she said that she started when she was 20, and she now had moved up to the ranks as a steward. And she said that she had never saw the workers unite like they had during this strike, not just in her plant, but in all the other plants across the country that were on strike. And she said it was, it made her feel good that when they would have their meetings and when they would have their negotiation sessions with the members, that there'd be thousands of members, in this place, and everybody was putting aside whatever differences they had, whatever biases they had, whatever prejudice. They put all that aside so they could come together for a collective to get what they felt they deserved, to get what they felt they needed, to get what they wanted from the company. And I thought that was so interesting because I had never, that's one of the things I had never heard put in that type of perspective. It then, it then made me start thinking about as I travel around the world and seeing how workers in other countries and workers here in the United States are now starting to demand. That's not asking, they're demanding that this is what we want, and if we don't get it, one of the phrases we use when we are out doing actions and out protesting is that, what do we want? We want justice. What do we want? We want this. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. And so to hear that these workers are to that point that, hey, collectively, we will shut it down. We will stop production. We will stop movement. We will stop supply. We will stop everything until we get what we want, or until you recognize that these are the issues. And part of the contract that they were negotiating, it wasn't so much about money, but it was also about these other benefits. It was about pension. It was about workers who, because a lot of times in these contracts, they front loaded. And what I mean front loaded is that the new workers would get, they would raise the starting salary for the new workers, but it by the time they get to older workers who have been veteran workers, it trickles down and becomes like very minimal. But in this case, the contract made sure that the veteran workers were rewarded just like new starting workers. It's also about their health care. They wanted better health care benefits. They wanted to pay less into the health care plan and the company to pay more. And one of the things that the organizers said is that during the negotiations, they put forth in front of the company their earnings statement. So this is what you've been making. Over the past, this contract, the last contract they did was almost 4 years ago. And they said, over this 4-year period, this is what you have made, but this is what you have paid out to workers. This is what the benefits you have paid out to workers, what it costs. So we want more percentage of this money. You can't say you haven't made money. And for those who may not know the history of what has been going on in the auto industry back in the 70s and 80s, and even when the automakers went bankrupt, they filed for bankruptcy, and the government had to bail them out. The workers made concessions. They said, okay, you don't have this money, you're going through a financial crisis. We will forego raises, we will forego certain things. And now the workers have come back and said, hold up, we're not going to do that anymore. We gave that to you once. We're not going to give that to you again. And this is what we want. And so I'm looking at it in a way, can this be another way to where not only a collective with workers across so many different industries, but can it be a collective in how we work towards other things? Can it be a collective in how we want better from our state government? Could it be a way that we can do better, want better from our healthcare, from a lot of different angles? But the key goes back to what the steward said, is that everybody put aside their whatever it was, their biases, their prejudices, whatever, for the common good of what they wanted. Now, in saying that, it doesn't mean that, after you get what you want, does that mean that people are going to have a change of attitude about their prejudice, about their biases? No. But what it also shows is that if I can work, to get what I want with you, and not, as we say, not work against my best interest, then can that be something that could work in other areas? And so, just want to, talk to the listening audience. What do you think? Do you think that's something possible? Can we take a page from what not only the United Auto Workers did, but the Screen Actors Guild did through the writers, and what they did, and putting aside those things that separate and look for those things that bring us together to get the things that are needed for each individual.
Wow, that was a lot. I do have a couple of announcements and then I'll make a comment. Caller, please call back. Tony was in stride.
Yeah, sorry about that call. I will lose focus. So I had to keep going to keep focused.
So please call back. We do want to hear what you have to say. I do have 2 announcements that I found that I think would be of interest to all of us. Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing has extended their Small Business Saturday to this Saturday, December 1st. It says December 1st, but this Saturday should be December 2nd, shouldn't it? Because today's the 30th.
Yeah, it'll be December
2nd. So December 2nd. Small Business Saturday has been extended at Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing. Give the gift of books and art this holiday season. And one book that is on showcase there is the New Brownies book. It is a love letter to Black families, and it is inspired by W.E.B. I say Du Bois, some people say Du Bois, and the original Brownies book periodical. It is by Corita L. Brown and Charlie Palmer. And so Charlie Palmer is an artist, yes. And so that's one of the books that'll be showcased at Pyramid on Saturday. The Small Business Saturday is extended to this Saturday, the 2nd of December. And you can find Pyramid located at 1001, I think. Yeah, 1001, if I'm not mistaken, Wright Avenue, right down the street from the station. Also, another announcement that I found is from Dana Dossett, who is the Director of Community Programs. Dear Little Rock community member, the City of Little Rock is excited to share that applications for the Public Safety Commission are officially open. This is an excellent opportunity to contribute to our community's safety and well-being collectively. If you or someone you know is passionate about public safety and community engagement, please encourage them to apply, and you are encouraged to apply. We have more information about it and how you can access the application right here at the radio station. Just hit us up at 501-433-0088. We'll let you know more about it. And the application deadline is Friday, January 5th, 2024 at 5 p.m. So those are the 2 announcements that I wanted to make.
Okay.
I got really, when you started talking about the stewards, the union putting forth the earnings statement so that they could show to the employers, the owners, they can say, hey, this is what we know to be true about your finances, right? And this is what we know that what's true about ours, and we can see the divide, and we're letting you see that we see them. So when you said that part, I immediately thought about my dad. When I was growing up, I had to learn this the hard way, but I did learn it. For my dad, if you wanted something from my dad, you had to basically submit a plan. You had to basically tell him, if I wanted to go somewhere, he needed to know where I was going, how I was getting there, who was going to be with me. I had to have every question already answered. I had to anticipate what his questions might be and already have them answered so that he would say yes. But I thought that at first I thought he was just being mean, but really he was teaching me how to think it all the way through. I need you to think it this way, that way. You need a contingency plan. What's going to happen in case of I need you to think about what it is that you want to do at this moment with your life. And so I thought about that because what happens is my daddy couldn't help but say yes, because all of the information is provided. All of the information that's provided is not disputable, and you are basically forced to say yes because I've answered every question that you could possibly have. And so I felt like that's what I was feeling from these workers. Like, there's what you gonna say? There's no reason for you not to say yes to this plan. And I think that's where we fail as a Black collective, Black people as a collective. I think that's where we fail, because we'll say things like, what do we want? Justice. What if we don't get it? Shut it down. We'll say that. But do we have a plan that has been well thought out, that answers every question and provides for every need that we have as a community, as a collective, so that we can move forward with the benefits that we deserve? Not that, not you giving me something because you doing me a favor, but it's my right to have a life of quality and dignity and grace. And so I thought about that, and so when you said, can we apply what they did with the workers union to other areas? Absolutely we can. Especially we need to think about that with Black folks, because what is it that we want? Have we thought it through?
Yeah, and so there was this article I was reading that my boss sent to me, and the article was entitled, let me go ahead and take this call. Call you on air.
Yeah, keep it up, dog. Now, what we want is reparations in our area. Now, Tony, are you aware of what's going on in Chicago as far as the immigrants? They're getting thousands of dollars, while the people there that's been there watching their kids. I'm it's hard to think that echo. Is there any way to straighten that out?
I can't say you're not hearing the echo, but there's no echo coming through here that I hear. Now, I'm not saying you don't have an echo, but it's not. I don't think it's. I don't think it's coming through. I don't think it's coming from the board or it's coming from the station. It may be, but there's no way to tell.
Back in the day, I used to work there, and if you could turn the microphone away from the system that's coming in, it'll clear up.
This not even the same setup.
Nah, I don't know too much.
Are you aware of what's going on in Chicago, your hometown?
No. I have not read anything, and normally my family keeps me in the loop with Chicago politics and everything, and that's not something that.
What's going on is they have millions of immigrants that have come over. Now they are giving them thousands of dollars, while the people there, even with their parks and stuff, now if they seek out, they say, well, like I say, it's hard for me to concentrate, but I'll keep on keeping on. But it's back to our government having money for everybody else but us. Now, reparations and all that, it should be on the table for us, but they're giving our tax money to people that are coming over and that are new. Just like you were saying with the people that are doing their strikes and stuff. I'm wondering, is there a way that we can come up with a class action or start marching to get what is due us instead of giving it to the new people? What do you think about that?
Okay, I'm gonna get you off the air and I'll answer it.
Okay, I don't want you to lose your thought. Go back to what you were saying about your boss sent you an article and you read the article.
Yes, and in the article, it talked about what can we learn from the UAW strike. And as I'm reading it, what the UAW did is basically copied what the Screen Actor Guild did, what the writers did, in that when you've been in negotiations, contract negotiations, mm-hmm. and one of the first things they say is that, hey, listen, we don't have the money. We spent money on this, we're spending money, we just don't have the money. But when you put it in front of them, and this what those other unions did, they put it in front of in front of management and said, hold up, you can't say that. You have increased, your earnings and your profit by whatever, like 60%. And so you can't say you ain't made money. You've increased your earnings by 60%, but you have decreased the benefits and the money paid out to workers by 20%. So now that's an 80%. That's an 80% thing difference. And so you can't say you don't have it because you do. And what we're asking for is that we who are doing the work receive a better portion of that. And another thing that's so important, especially with the UAW, and when I was in England, we had a meeting with organizers who are trying to get Amazon organized in European countries. And they were talking about the same thing. They were talking about how do we go and present to Amazon, something that they can't deny. As you said, you can't deny that you're making this money. And if you're making this money off the work of us, shouldn't we reap the benefits of the work that we do?
Yeah, and I think that part of the conversation has to do with time. I know that you mentioned that I've been in contract negotiations, and I don't mind confessing that in one of them I failed. We were at I think we were in Shreveport, and I said, like, well, all we're asking you for is like 25 more cents, and I had it written down, and I had all of that written down, but I didn't have the earnings statement. Like, I didn't have their stuff. I was only presenting our side, right? And so when I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking about, what, it would have been way more powerful if I had had their earnings statement. But I didn't have time to put all that together, right? Like, it was like, I hit the ground running kind of thing. And so one of the things that I think is that we need to consider is how we are spending our time. If we're so busy working, right? If we're so busy churching, if we're so busy working and churching, then we don't have enough time to think about things and think about a plan and put things together and pull from here and do the research. Like, it takes time to fight for something, right? And I think that is what we have to ask ourselves. How are we spending our time, and with whom? Because when you talked about the United Auto Workers, she said we needed everybody that's a part of this membership. Everybody has to be on the same page for this. So we need to be making sure that we're working with people who can get on the same page. Those, and that's for the workers union. When I'm talking about the Black collective or any collective that you're trying to work with, some people you have to say, look, we don't need you in this collective, because we need people that are like-minded, people who are intellectually and economically aligned with what it is we're trying to get. Those are the people that we need to agree with us, and that's who we want to work with. And we're going to take the time to build this plan together.
Yeah, and so, like I said, it was so fascinating with talking to these to the student organizers, because they were in conversations with other unions who had, UPS workers who were getting ready to go on strike, and they worked out an agreement. The train companies who were workers who were getting ready to go on strike, and they worked out an agreement. And they were all kind of saying this one thing, is that as they would reach out to the membership and talking to the membership, on the phones and meetings and everything, and they realized that, like you said, there were some members who didn't want to push. They didn't want to do that push. They were like, well, because the UAW was saying we want a 25% increase. They started at a 40-cent increase. But they said, okay, 25% is the target they wanted anyway. But they were shooting for 40. So we get anything over 25, fine. But 25 is what we want. And as they were talking to members, there were some members who were like, oh, 25%? Oh, no, we ain't gonna get 25%. They ain't gonna give us 25%. Oh, no, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that push. I don't want, because you talk about going on striking, and the organizers said, listen, we got a strike fund for you. we got a strike, but we got you. We got you. All we need for you is to do. Well, no, just count me out. And the organizer said, normally what we would do, we would keep spending time trying to persuade. He said, but this time we were like, fine.
Exactly.
Fine.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel, we don't need that, because we don't need that negativity, because when we out on the picket lines as a unified front, we don't need you out there saying, man, I'm just out here because I have to be. No, we don't want you out here, because you're gonna start talking, you're gonna start your body language, your aura is gonna mess everything up, because we have people here like, you know what? We're gonna stay here. We don't care if another car never drive down the street. We don't care. We don't care, because you're not gonna keep exploiting us as workers. And like I said, going back to the contract they did doing when the company said went bankrupt, the workers said, okay, we understand you're going bankrupt. We will concede. We're not going to ask for a raise. We're going to keep benefits, where they are. So basically, and the company said, when we get on our feet, when things get better, we will reward you for your concession. And now the company's like, well, did we really say that? We said it, but did we really mean it? And now the workers like, we're going to hold you to that. And so that's another thing, and we talked about this quite often, is that sometimes you got to, like, you know what? If you want to hang on the tree, that's your business. And I'm talking about fruit.
Oh,
I'm talking about fruit. When they
that's
talk
some
about fruit.
strange
Yeah. But if you don't want to fall as a worker off the tree, so that we can walk and get something, then just stay there. It's cool. Nobody's gonna be mad at you. That's you. But for the rest of us, we're trying to get something. Ooh, call, turn your radio down, please.
Okay, I have it down now. I guess with all that echo, you didn't hear a word I was saying about reparations.
We heard all of it.
Immigrations and all that.
We heard all of it.
Well, I'm looking at, what do you think about term limits for some of the people that are speaking to us here in Arkansas? Like I said, when you get Mississippi and Chicago together, it seems like we can't get nothing done in Arkansas.
Excuse me?
What's up with that?
I don't understand the question.
It's critical to say that our voices matter over KABF when we seem like benign neglect, being ignored, and everything else is going on when it comes to our conversations here in Arkansas.
Okay.
Is that all you got to say? Okay?
Yes.
Like I say, you are the program director there, and it seems like we should be moving at quantum leaps when it comes to.
Okay, let me say this. You may not think so. But KBF is a 100,000 watt voice of the people. And
now the voice of the people should be heard by people of that area also. But like I say, when you get Mississippi ideas with
okay, thank you, Sullivan. Hang that phone up. Hang that phone up. Oh, okay. So wait a minute. No. Let's go back to what we were talking about. So when you said the United Auto Workers, let me get this comment in from Phyllis Brown. She said, watch the movie Rustin and see how organizing worked. Watch the movie Rustin, Bayard Rustin, and see how organizing worked. You can find that it's streaming on Netflix. So I can't comment on Rustin yet, but I will be able to because I want to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but she's suggesting that to all of us. But one of the things that you said when you were talking about the United Workers and how they put this together, one person who they were trying to pull into the collective said, well, wait a minute, I don't want to do this because I might lose something. And the person responded, no, we've got a strike fund. We've got you. Like, don't worry about that. When you strike, we're going to make sure that you're okay. And that brought me back to Dr. King and the Poor People's Campaign. So that's why King was killed, right? Like King, I don't believe, this is Denise, I don't believe that King was killed because he was trying to get Black people registered to vote, because he was trying to get public accommodations for Black people. I think that the system of white inhumanity killed him because once he started talking about the Poor People's Campaign, now he's pulling in more than just Black people. Anybody who is affected by this, it does not matter what your race is. Anybody who's affected by this, we need to join together so that we can push for what we want and get it. And so they made sure that those people who could not walk, they had a ride. People who needed food to eat, somebody was making lunches. So they were taking care of all of your needs because we knew that you were going to be without during the time that we were fighting, right? During the time, and this is when they were this was actually the bus boycott, when they were marching, when they were boycotting the buses. And see, I think what happens with us is that we are so dedicated and so beholden to and so dependent on our jobs that we say, well, we can't participate because we can't afford to, because we don't have a contingency plan. If I don't work, I'm not going to eat. And so the question goes back to something I was talking about on Tuesday. What are we doing with our money? How are we spending our money so that when it's time to fight, you can fight because you're not worried about whether or not you're going to eat because you have an economic contingency plan. And that is something that I know for a fact, looking at the numbers that we spend as Black folks in particular, that we are not thinking about better ways to use our money so that it would be possible for me to say, come on and fight because I got you.
Yeah, and because we are so tied to our jobs, that, and then I think it goes back to also how so many people aren't taught financial planning. They're not taught how to, to set up. And then, and I'm guilty of this, very, very guilty of this, that when we do get a certain amount of money, whether it's from insurance or a lottery or whatever, that the first thing that we think about is like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this. Even though I got it, even though I got a car that's paid for, oh, I'm gonna go out and buy another car. Instead of saying, you know what? Let me take this money because I was okay before I got the money.
Yeah.
So let me take this money and put it somewhere, invest it somewhere, do something that eventually that this money is going to pay back, come back to me, as they say. Let me plant a seed. This money is seeds. Let me plant it so it'll produce a harvest later on. And then I can reap the benefits of the harvest instead of just, and that's so, that's so ironic because tax season is coming up, and they're ramping up. Amazon is ramping up. Best Buy is ramping up. Hey, you can get this TV. You can get this system. You can get this. Car dealerships are getting ready to start. Hey, bring your income tax return in. We'll do it for you and get you in a car.
And it's not just the tax season, right? It's also the holiday season. How much money are we going to spend on Christmas? We got to get everybody a gift except the person that you say you're celebrating, right? Jesus. So it's again, how are we spending our money? And when I say that, I'm not just thinking about the person as an individual, but I'm not just thinking about your own household. Yes, you should have an economic contingency plan for your own household, no doubt about it, but also for the community, because somebody out beside you doesn't have the same ability that you have to create this nest egg, as what some people would call it. And so that means that this person can't fight because if they don't go to work, then they're not going to be able to eat, and they don't have another way. So I can say, not only do I have enough money to make sure that my family eats, I can also contribute to your family as well. So it becomes a collective effort to make sure that we are saying together, I got you. That's how organizing has to work. And so when we look at ourselves and we ask, why aren't we further along? The question comes back to, what is the plan? What's in the plan? Who's being taken care of in the plan? Have we thought about everybody's needs in the plan? And I do not believe that we are there when we talk about organizing as a Black collective. You know, I know you're talking about the workers, but you said let's extend it to other things.
And what you're saying is, and like I said, there is this, I think a lot of times we try to recreate something. We try to create something new when all you have to do is take what's already in place, and you can plug in what you need to do to what's already, as they said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel because the wheel's already there. You just need to figure out, how can I get this wheel to roll the way I need to? And that's one thing that going back to the Screen Actors Guild, to the Writers Guild, to the UAW, one thing they did as they met, as they got together, they wanted people to tell them, what is your need? What is it? You know, we have this fund, we have this, you know, what is it that you're gonna need? How much money is your household gonna need to survive? You know, and then they plan it out. So if the strike lasts a month, what is going to be your need? What if it goes to 3 months? What is going to be your need? What can we as a collective? And with the Screen Actors Guild, those top earners, you know, actors in that 10, 15, $20 million range, they were like, I'm going to take some of my money, you know, my personal money, that if the union as a whole can't support someone, I'm going to donate, you know, $5 million to the cause. So that way, nobody is going to suffer. That way, nobody has to worry about, you know, whether rent going to get paid, whether the kids going to be able to eat. You ain't got to worry about that, because what we need is a collective front to let management know that we're not, you know, you're going to share with this, you know. And so that's why it's so important as we start to organize, whether it's in a social way or any other way. Let's see how we can take care of everybody that we can, so nobody has that fear. And when you do that, it eases that stress. And another thing we have to understand, because of the work I do, because it's on a lot, some of the work I do is on an international level, and I'm looking, a lot of the UAW is an international union, you know, so they're looking at what happened here in the States, because now these companies, these automakers who have plants in India, who have plants in Brazil, who have plants in Africa, who have plants in Mexico, they're looking, you know, those organizers are looking and say, hold up, the money still comes from Detroit, where the headquarters are. That money is still made there, but we're still making the money for them. So that same procedure, well, hey, if I'm in Mumbai, hey, listen, y'all made this, but y'all paying us this. We want some of this. And these organizers who help do negotiations for UAW, now they're starting to go to all these other countries and reproducing what they did. And so I think sometimes we don't understand the connections. We don't understand. And so when I hear about a Stacey Abrams and what she did in Georgia to get oh God, what's the two senators?
Raphael Warren? No.
Yeah, Warnock and Ossoff to get them elected. It started to trickle down to other states, you know, and she showed them, here's the blueprint. So instead of trying to recreate anything, use the blueprint that's already there. I think we talked about this. What is the group that's get all these right-wing laws passed where they just give you a template? Alec. They just give you a template. You plug in what you want to plug in. And I think that's something that we also have to start thinking about.
Well, I do want to say that I don't want to offend any organizers out there who are listening, because I know that we are, as a fellow organizer, I know that we are putting in the work. I know that we are negotiating. I know that we are creating contingency plans. I know that we are doing that. One of the things that I have run into is when we realize there's something that we may have overlooked, there's a gap in our plan, and we say, okay, how do we fill this gap? How do we meet this need? And who is it that we can bring into the collective to help us meet the need? We have gotten stuck right there. We've gotten stuck with trying to come up with the names of the people that we can bring into the collective, because so many of us, when you said we don't see the connections, so many of us don't see the connections because we aren't taking the time to pay attention to what's happening around us.
Right.
Again, we're so busy worried about how much money I'm making, how much mortgage my mortgage is, how much and we're not thinking about the next person. And then a lot of us have this attitude where, it's as for me and my house, they need to figure theirs. And so we have been, our efforts recently, like within the last 3-4 months, our efforts have been stymied because we're sitting there looking at each other like we don't even know who we can bring into this space that we can trust with this information that will do the work, not just for themselves, but for the other person too. And that has been quite disappointing.
Yeah, and that's where when this steward, when she said this, she said that people put aside their biases, they put aside their prejudice, they put aside, it was like, ain't no sexual gender in here. The only thing in this space right now is a collective of what we want. And it did not matter. Whoever could do the work, it didn't matter. Whoever was the leader, it did not matter. Whoever's going to be the spokesperson, it did not matter. Who's ever going to be out on the picket lines, making sure that it did not matter. Because now, going back to something I said earlier, I'm tired of losing out. What's the term we use? I'm tired of losing out, voting against my best interests. I think I'm
okay, you don't want to vote against your best interest.
I don't want to vote against my best interests anymore, because my best interest is not benefiting me, and what I mean is my biases, my prejudice is not benefiting me, because I'm not gaining. So let me get this out the way. And when you start to do that, when you start to come together, knowing that and knowing that together we can united, we can get this done. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. As long as Dr. King was fighting for Black rights, fine. But now you're trying to bring in a whole collective of all people who are marginalized or who are at the bottom, all poor people. And if everybody at the bottom decide that, hey, we don't have to take this, then it threatens the top.
Well, you talked about the United Auto Workers organizers saying that it was important for everybody to put aside their prejudices and their biases. Now, you cannot do that if you don't know what they are. And a lot of people in the work that I do as a cultural strategist, a lot of people have a difficult time believing that they even have biases. They want to believe, especially people who are faithful to whatever faith it is. They believe that because I am dedicated and committed to my faith, then I now have the ability to be the right kind of person that whoever my God is wants me to be. So you're not talking to me. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not that one. And so having people get to the point where they can say, wait a minute, first of all, bias is a natural, normal brain function. Like, everybody has bias, and it is good on a certain level, but it can also be destructive. We've got to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and say, yes, I have biases. Yes, I have prejudices. Yes, I can name them. I even know what they are. And I might not tell them to you, but I can tell them to my family, or I can tell them to my friend. I can tell them to myself. So when you say to me, let's work together, I can say, okay, yes, because I can't worry about this. I can't, because I was just talking to a Black man recently, and he made a statement about the LGBTQ community and how he feels about the community. And he was going into whatever, all of what he was saying that I did not ask permission to share, so I'm not going to share that part. I am going to share what I asked. I said, so wait a minute. If Black people needed to go to war, could you fight beside a gay person? Like, would you say, wait a minute, I can't fight because this person is gay? Like, that became my question. And then it goes right back to what we're saying about, if you're going to organize, if you're going to align yourself, if you're going to be ready to do the work to move us all forward, you have to embrace all. You cannot say, I can't work with you because of whatever this label or identity is. And so you cannot take care of your biases. You cannot get to the place where you can work for everybody until you first do some work on yourself.
Yeah, and that goes back to understanding, and that's what I was so impressed with these organizers, is that how they took the time to let people know that going back to the analogy you gave about going to war. Can you go to war with someone that's gay, but you have this bias against someone that's gay? So you're gonna let,
or can you go to war with a woman, or can you go to war with a Black person? Whatever your, again, bias and prejudices are, you have to be able to rein them in, to hold them captive so that you can get the work done. But if you don't know that you have bias, if you don't believe that you have, then you're gonna unconsciously destroy this work.
Right. And I think that's a great question, because so many people don't. They think they do, but it's only when you are in conversation. It's only when you are getting, you are in relationship. And the one thing off the call, I was talking to the organizer, and he was saying that to see people come together, not after the meetings, and they talked about, here's people who work in the same plant. But because it's such a big plant, you're talking about, he was saying in this one plant, there's 8,000 workers. So, of course, you probably know the people who are on the line with you, but you don't know anybody else. Mm-hmm. But in this meeting, they were able to sit down and talk to someone and say, oh, yeah, I work over here doing bumpers. Oh, so I get your bumper for me to put the side panel. I say, yeah. They started, and it said these friendships started, this relationship started, that even on the picket lines, that you had workers who would come up to make sure, hey, you need some water. They're on the picket line. They're passing each other on the picket lines going around, and they will stop and say, hey, I'm heading back this way. I'm going by the water table. I'm going by the snack table. Do you want me to get you something? I say, yeah. So they'll grab them something, and then on the next round where they pass each other, here, and so.
And it brings to mind the legislation that we've seen around that, right? Where the especially the Republicans will say that they don't want you to give people water when they are standing in line, when they are trying to vote. And we talk, and so what you're saying about relationships, we are legislating the divides against people. We're legislating so that relationships are not built. We're legislating so that communities are not coming together. We are using the power of the assembly, the legislative assembly, to continue to keep people from being able to form these unions and do this work. And until we are able to see what's happening to us, how they are using us to keep us from saying, look, I got you, come fight with me, I got you, both of us gonna win. As long as they can keep us divided because we won't have real conversations, then we'll lose.
Yeah, and I think power structure is to keep division.
Of course.
They can keep your biases, your prejudices, your racism in front, at the forefront, then you can't get past that because there's a barrier. But when you drop that and you look, the barrier isn't there, and you can see that person as a coworker, as a neighbor, as a friend, as somebody else in need. When
As
you
a
can
human.
see that as a human, then everything changes, because now I can be in relationship with another human, and instead of trying to be in relationship with a bias or a gender, because it may not be the same as mine, or however you want to look at it. And if you can get that away, then now you can stand in solidarity, because you can't be in solidarity if you got a bias in front of you.
And the good news is you can arrest your biases. Like that's the good news. You don't have to continue to think the way that you are thinking right now. There is a way of escape for us all, but you have to be willing to do the work. And that becomes the critical question. I really don't believe that it's that we don't know how to do things. I think it's that we don't want to do it. Umar Johnson was talking in one of the TikToks that someone sent me, and at the end he said, Black people don't want to be free. We want to be accepted by white folks. And so it's not that you can't do the work that you need to do. It's just that's not what you're willing to do. You're willing to do what continues to keep you in bondage rather than do the work of being liberated. So what is your will for your life becomes one of the questions that you have to ask yourself.
Yeah. So we only got a few more minutes left in the show. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. There's something I want to say. And I think, to me, it's important. It may not be important to anybody else, but to me, it's important. KBL is, when I say it's voice of the people, and that voice covers many different areas. It covers many different shows. And the one thing that is so wonderful about KBL is each show is its own unique entity. And each host has the ability to narrate their own show. I do understand that sometimes people have questions, or they have something that they want to interject into the show. And I will be the first to admit, in the past, I would go down. I would lose focus, and I thank you, Denise, that when I was talking earlier, you let me talk, because I would lose focus on what I was initially talking about, and next thing I know, I'm way down the road somewhere. But there are times when you have to stay focused on the topic at hand.
But there are also times when we as hosts, sometimes you call us DJs, it's also times when we have to recognize that some callers that call in are not effective for our conversation. You're not moving the conversation forward. You're not helping us. You're not giving us any strategies. You're not fighting with us. You are a disruptor. So you're interrupting the conversation because you are being used as a tool and you don't even see it. Or maybe you do and that's what you want to do. I don't know. And so I think that we have to also say that to callers. Just because you want to talk does not mean that you get to if you're not talking about what's going to help us with this conversation.
And you're right. And I know there are some callers who call over multiple shows, multiple shows to talk to multiple hosts. And it's up to those hosts, how they deal with it. But I want to just, emphasize that when we are talking about a specific thing, we may not move into your what you want to know or what you want to talk about, because what we're talking about is more important at that moment. So, hey, enjoy the rest of your day. It's gonna, from my understanding, it's gonna rain today. So be careful out there driving. Stay warm and have a great weekend. Tune in Monday from 4 to 5 for Down with Debt with me and Neil. Next Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. for Community Voices with Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell and me. And next Thursday for the workplace, right here on KAB 88.3. Continue to listen today. Enjoy. See ya.